Right, we're jumping around a little bit, I know, on the build of this 8K GT40. Right, just had a little bit play around with the rear suspension, and as you can see we've got the rear upright here and the bottom wishbone. Problem we had here was that initially the wishbone wouldn't slide in either side as it was too tight in this area here. So what I've had to do is try and, hopefully you can see this. There's an insert that goes in there with about 1 millimetre protruding, and there was no way that the wishbone would actually fit in there. So I've had to machine 2.5 millimetres off of the actual upright itself, and obviously machine 2.5 millimetres off the insert as well. So I can then put the insert back in, have about 1 millimetre showing. That will then allow me to slide on the wishbone, and then I've then got to machine up another collar that fits inside and goes up against, I think you can see it, there's another rose joint in there. So the collar, the new collar I've got to machine up, is got to fit against that rose joint there, and then that face there goes against that insert when it's in there. So once I've got that to the right size, that can then be slid on there nicely, and then the large rod that holds the lot together can be put in. So that's our next task then, is to make up the little collars in there. It's going to be a fit because this bit obviously has to rotate as the suspension moves, and the forces on the wheel is in that direction, so that's going to push there onto that collar, through the bearing, out the other side, into this part, which is then the forward facing bar. The other side I think is a little bit better. I think we already have a gap there, but I'll know when I get there. So let's get this side done first of all. Right, I've done my measuring and my calculations. So what I've got is the distance from the bearing to the face is 6.2. The gap is 2.5. There. So that's 2.5. This was drawings not to scale. And the insert sticks out by 1. So I need something that goes between there. So I need 6.2 plus 2.5. Then the insert comes out 1, so that's -1. So I've got to make up a spacer which is 7.7. So I'll just go and turn that up now. Right, so I've done my, I've lost track of it. Right. So I've done my spacer. So that now goes into there, as you can see there. But obviously before we slide it in, we've got to slide this in. But you've got to remember that I've also got a recess here. So when this slides in, we don't want this touching the wishbone. Again, we have to make a small spacer to go between that rose joint and that face there. I've already measured that out. That wants to be 6 mil. So there's my 6 mil spacer. So we slide him on first of all. And we slide him in to there. Slide on the internal spacer. You can see that drops up inside. Pull him back a touch. And then we should be able to offer all of this up. And then push the rod home. Have to wiggle it around a little bit so it makes up with the rose joint at the other end. And I'm starting to come through. Oh, what a tight fit. There we go. Obviously this rotates nice and easy because we're running on that rose joint there and the rose joint that's in there. So that part is done. So you have to put washer on there, which we don't have at the moment, and a nut. So I'll just slip him on for the moment. So that's the bottom one done. Now I've got to do the other one on the other side. So we'll just check and measure all that up. The other thing we have to do was to, obviously because it's been powder coated, was to remount the holes for the shock absorber which goes in there, and for the anti-roll bar that picks up on there. Yeah, it picks up on there. The other part, or the other area I came across, was that when the shocker drops into there, I'll just show you. Here we have a shock absorber. Again, nice rose joints on the end. But when that drops into there and we put the bolt through, the actual bottom of there just kisses, or just touches, the bottom of the frame there. So it's just a touch with a grinder in there, and a little bit just ground off, maybe 1/2 mil off there is all that's needed. And then the bolt should slide through without any problems. Again, got to do that on both sides. Right, this is the rear left side now. I've done no machining, no changes on this one at all. And I think we can just move the camera so you can see we actually have quite a large gap there. So I've got to make up a spacer to go into there, and then a spacer to go on this side as well, which then locates onto there. I decided to do this side a little bit different. Instead of making a big spacer to go in there, what I've done is I've gone for the same size as I did before, which was a 7.7, and the same one's gone outside, which is a 6.2. So we'll just assemble that now. Right, so we're going to slide them in now. Let's see how different I'm going to do it. So the smaller one goes on first, and put the slightly wider one on, which is the 7.7 one, and offer him up. Jiggle it around a bit till he goes in. Right, there we go. Now you can see I've got a bit of slop there now on this one. So what I intend to do is on this end here, the rose joint end, is to do some select on test, or off the bin, out of my washer bin, get the correct size washers in there so I have no play there at all. So that's what I'm going to do on this side, which is a little bit different to the other side, but I'm more than happy to do it this way. Again, we had the same problem, had to ream these out, that's okay, ream that out, that's okay. And again, had a little bit of touching on the bottom there, so I just had to touch the bottom of the shock absorber and the actual bit of the chassis leg, a little bit of the wishbone. So that's that side done. Again, I'm going to need a washer on there. That's it really, so that's that side done. Right, where the gearbox, where the bell housing interfaces with the chassis, I've had to fabricate 2 new slotted brackets. The originals came along that line there. I needed to move it slightly towards the rear of the car so that the breather tube missed the top mount that goes across there. So that was a fairly straightforward job to do. So I've tacked them in, removed the bell housing and engine, and now I've had to weld those in and give them a coat of paint. Right, that's them all welded in, and a quick coat of primer on both sides. But because I've left the ledge there, I had a bit of an interference problem on the bell housing, as you can see here. So I've had to machine 5mm in and 5mm down so that it misses the ledge when it goes up against it. So again, I've done that on both sides. So I've just got to wait for the primer to dry, quick coat of black, and hopefully that will have finished that area.